Let's dive into something that's probably sparkling on someone's finger right now. Picture this. The 1930s.
Okay.
If you were getting hitched in the, good old US of A, the odds were pretty slim, like 1 in 10 slim that the engagement ring involved a diamond.
Wow, only 1 in 10.
Yeah. Fast forward to today, and suddenly it's like around 80% of proposals come with that iconic dazzle. So what's the story there? What flipped that script so dramatically?
It's a classic case of, but why though, isn't it? I mean, what feels like this timeless, almost romantic inevitability actually has a pretty specific and, well, it may be engineered backstory.
Engineered, yeah.
We're about to explore the fascinating and really largely unknown history of how the diamond became the absolute king of the engagement ring in the United States.
Exactly. It feels like something passed down through the ages, right?
Yeah.
A tradition etched in stone. No pun intended.
Ha, nice one.
But the truth, as we've kind of unearthed from our research looking at De Beers's marketing master plans, historical sales figures, and even some, let's say, interesting critiques, is that it's much more of a carefully constructed marketing phenomena.
Absolutely. Get ready for a real aha moment, folks, because when you connect the dots, you start to see just how powerful marketing can be.
Totally. Shaping our culture, our traditions, even our deepest feelings about things like love and commitment.
Yeah, we're not just talking about selling a product here. We're talking about creating a cultural cornerstone. It's kind of amazing, actually.
So let's set the scene. Before this diamond dominance kicked in, what did the engagement ring landscape actually look like back then, pre-De Beers era U.S.? It sounds like a very different jewelry box.
Oh, it was a very different picture, for sure. Before De Beers' influence really took hold, diamonds weren't the default by any stretch. Simpler bands, maybe rings with other gemstones.
Or nothing.
Or even no ring at all. Yeah, that was quite common. Especially when you think about the economic realities, the Depression era.
Right, times were tough.
Exactly. Diamonds were definitely seen as luxurious, a symbol of status, sure, but that was largely confined to the wealthier segments of society. It wasn't this widespread expectation it is today. Not at all.
So what was the spark? What was driving De Beers to push diamonds so hard? What was their motivation?
Well, the key driver was De Beers' almost monopolistic control over the world's diamond supply. They had tons of diamonds.
Okay.
And after World War II, they faced a potential issue. To keep the value of these stones high, they needed to cultivate much broader demand, not just among the elite.
They needed everyone to want one.
Precisely. Their explicit long-term goal, which frankly their subsequent marketing brilliantly achieved, was to embed the diamond engagement ring as an essential symbol of commitment across all social classes.
Enter the madman of the diamond world. Tell us about N.W. Ayer Son. Sounds like a crucial player.
Oh, huge. In 1938, De Beers brought in this advertising agency powerhouse, N.W. Ayer Son. Their initial market research confirmed what we just said. Diamonds meant love and status.
But only for the rich.
Right. But it wasn't universal. Ayer's pivotal insight, the real game changer, was that to truly move the needle, they needed to fundamentally redefine the diamond ring, elevate it to this, non-negotiable milestone on the path to marriage for everyone.
And it was from that strategic shift that one of the most, enduring advertising slogans ever was born, right? A diamond is forever.
Yep, that one.
It just has this ring of...
Yeah.
Well, forever to it.
Absolutely. In 1947, a copywriter named Frances Gerety at N.W. Ayer, kind of famously, she apparently thought of it late at night, half asleep crafted that incredibly potent phrase.
Wow.
Its genius is its simplicity and the profound emotional chord it struck. It inextricably linked diamonds with eternal love, enduring commitment, and crucially, from De Beers' perspective, the idea that you don't resell them.
Keeps the market tight.
Exactly. You hold on to it forever.
One of our sources called it a deliberate bit of myth-making. That's a pretty strong statement. Why use those words?
Well, think about it. While diamonds are certainly durable, incredibly hard, they aren't literally indestructible, right?
Right, you can chip and burn them.
But the idea, the concept of permanence, of something lasting forever, that resonated so deeply with the post-war American psyche. A nation craving stability, lasting values after years of war and upheaval.
Makes sense. People wanted something solid.
It was brilliant marketing.
Yeah.
Tapping into that collective yearning and anchoring it directly to their product. Pure genius, really.
So it wasn't just about a catchy tagline, was it? It sounds like De Beers and Ayer were orchestrating this, a full-scale shift in American cultural norms, almost like social engineering.
Precisely. Our sources describe their approach almost like peacetime propaganda, a really comprehensive, sustained effort aimed at reshaping social attitudes on a massive scale.
Propaganda, wow.
It wasn't just about showing pretty diamonds, it was about intricately weaving them into the very fabric of American courtship rituals, expectations, life itself.
Okay, let's break down some of those tactics.
Yeah.
Emotional appeal seems like it would have been absolutely central.
Oh, fundamental. The ads weren't just selling a gem, they were crafting these elaborate romantic narratives. You know the ones.
Yeah, the soft focus, the happy couple.
Exactly. Subtly associating the diamond's supposed longevity and purity with the ideal of a strong, pure relationship. And there was also this underlying suggestion, very cleverly implied,
What was that?
that the monetary value of the diamond was somehow a reflection of the recipient's worth, how much he loved her.
Oof, that's a lot.
It's emotional anchoring, linking a deep feeling to a tangible, expensive object.
And then there was the whole aspirational angle, right?
Yeah.
Making people want what they saw the elite having. Social proof.
Exactly. De Beers strategically, very deliberately, publicized the diamond rings worn by prominent figures, movie stars, socialites, wives of political leaders, anyone in the public eye.
Get it in magazines, the newsreels.
You got it. Their internal strategy documents were actually quite explicit about this. The goal was, and I'm quoting here, making the grocer's wife and the mechanic's sweetheart say, "I wish I had what she has."
Wow, that's direct.
It created this powerful keeping up with the Joneses effect, positioning diamond rings as this necessary symbol of social status and success in love.
And I guess that a diamond is forever slogan was just
Hmm.
everywhere, all the time.
Relentlessly. The constant repetition of that slogan across all their advertising, print, radio, later TV from 1948 onwards was a cornerstone of the strategy.
Just drill it in.
It's classic persuasion, right? The more you hear something, the more readily you accept it as true. It became so deeply embedded in the cultural consciousness, this almost unquestioned link between diamonds and eternal love.
But it wasn't just magazine ads and billboards, was it?
Yeah.
I was genuinely surprised by some of the more, let's say, unconventional methods they used. Felt a bit sneaky.
The campaign was remarkably sophisticated, multi-layered. They understood that to truly establish a cultural tradition, they needed to infiltrate various aspects of American life. Get in early.
How so?
Well, they actually sponsored traveling diamond lecturers. These people would visit high schools, colleges.
Lectures on diamonds.
Yeah, subtly promoting the desirability of diamonds to young people, often under the guise of educational talks about geology or gems.
Seriously, that's wild.
And they produced promotional films, things like The Magic Stone, The Eternal Gem, basically cinematic commercials shown in movie theaters before the main feature. Talk about a captive audience. Cinematic propaganda pieces, really.
A traveling diamond lecturer.
Yeah.
That's some serious commitment to the cause.
Mm.
And it sounds like Hollywood played a pretty glamorous role, too. Not just the stars wearing them, but in the films themselves.
Absolutely crucial. They actively cultivated relationships with Hollywood studios, costume designers, making sure diamonds were prominently featured in popular films.
Any famous examples?
The prime example, the most iconic one, has to be Marilyn Monroe singing "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend" in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
Of course.
Sources strongly suggest De Beers played a role in making that happen. They recognized its immense potential as this dazzling, incredibly influential advertisement for their product.
It wasn't just product placement. It was like cultural embedding.
That's a perfect way to put it. Cultural embedding.
Okay. And then there's the infamous 2-month salary guideline. Where on earth did that come from? It feels so specific.
Yes. That was another stroke of marketing ingenuity. Pure brilliance from their perspective. Designed not only to increase spending, obviously,
Right.
but also to create this quantifiable measure of love and commitment. The campaign introduced and persistently promoted the idea a man should invest the equivalent of 2 months' salary in an engagement ring.
And they had a tagline for that, too, didn't they?
They did. How else could 2 months' salary last forever? It perfectly encapsulates the strategy.
Wow.
It essentially put a price tag on an emotional bond. It created significant social pressure. Men who spent less risk appearing, inadequate or cheap.
And women?
Women were subtly encouraged through the ads and the culture to equate the ring's value with their partner's devotion. It's fascinating how many people still kind of feel that pressure, or at least know the rule, without having any idea where it originated.
Yeah, I've definitely heard people mention it like it's some ancient piece of etiquette, not just a marketing ploy from the mid-20th century.
Exactly. I've even heard anecdotes, couples feeling genuine anxiety about hitting that mark, even if it strained their finances.
It's mind-boggling to think about the sheer impact of all this. You started by saying back in the 1930s, only about 10% of brides got diamond rings. What did that number look like by the end of the 20th century? There were decades of this campaign.
By the close of the 20th century, that figure had flipped entirely, completely reversed. Around 80%, maybe even slightly more, of first-time brides in the U.S. were receiving diamond engagement rings.
80% from 10. That's
Yeah,
monumental.
it really is. A tradition, as our sources emphasize repeatedly, was effectively invented, and they successfully convinced the public it was this age-old custom.
And it didn't just change what ring people bought.
No, it reshaped courtship rituals themselves. It reinforced the prevailing gender roles of the time. The man is the provider, demonstrating his ability to provide.
And the woman's status, symbolized by the ring.
Precisely. Even the now familiar image of the proposal, hang down on one knee, presenting the ring in a box, that specific script gained significant traction and standardization during this period. It wasn't nearly as common before the 1940s and 50s.
So the whole scene we picture owes something to this campaign. And this wasn't just an American story, right? This success became a kind of blueprint they used elsewhere.
Exactly right. The American success served as a powerful template for De Beers to penetrate other markets worldwide. A particularly striking case study is Japan.
What happened there?
Well, in the late 1960s, diamond engagement rings were virtually unheard of in Japan. Less than 5% of brides received one. Culturally, it just wasn't a thing.
Okay.
De Beers launched a very targeted campaign there, strategically portraying diamonds as symbols of modern Western romance, sophistication, status, linking it to aspiration.
And did it work?
Astonishingly well. Within a remarkably short time, just over a decade, by 1981, that figure had soared from under 5% to around 60%.
60%. Incredible.
Yeah, transforming Japan into the second largest diamond market globally at the time. It really highlights how effectively this, manufactured tradition could be transplanted into entirely different cultural contexts.
Okay, let's talk ethics for a moment. Because weaving something in the fabric of love and marriage for commercial gain, it feels complex.
It is complex. There are definitely ethical considerations to unpack. First, there's the market manipulation itself. De Beers controlled the supply, artificially limiting it to keep prices high, while simultaneously engineering massive demand. They weren't exactly upfront about how common diamonds actually are, or their often poor resale value.
Right, the forever slogan discourages thinking about resale.
Then there's the psychological manipulation. Using powerful emotional appeals, aspirational pressure, cultural infiltration, it bypasses rational decision-making to a degree.
And the commodification of love itself.
That's a big one. Linking an abstract emotion directly to a material purchase and then quantifying it with that 2-month salary rule, it turns love into an expenditure.
Which creates social pressure and potentially real financial strain for people trying to live up to this manufactured norm.
Absolutely. There's anxiety, potential debt, and fundamentally, there's the issue of presenting a modern invention, a marketing campaign, as this timeless, ancient tradition. It's misleading.
And of course, more recently, we had the whole issue of conflict diamonds, blood diamonds.
Right. That added another layer of ethical concern in the late 90s and early 2000s. The industry responded with things like the Kimberley process, though its effectiveness is debated. And now you see the rise of mythical alternatives like lab-grown diamonds or vintage rings, partly as a response to these historical and ethical issues.
So wrapping this all up, looking at the big picture,
Yeah.
what's the core takeaway from this deep dive into the diamond engagement ring story?
I think the key insight, the big aha, is that the diamond engagement ring tradition stands as this incredibly powerful testament to how marketing can literally shape cultural norms. It can profoundly influence our perceptions, our behaviors, even around something as deeply personal as love and marriage.
It shows that what feels like an age-old organic tradition can actually have a very specific, relatively recent origin story, and one firmly rooted in, well, commercial objectives.
Exactly. It wasn't magic, it was marketing. Very, very effective marketing.
It definitely gives you pause, makes you look at things differently. So for you listening in, as you reflect on all of this, here's maybe something to chew on. What other widely accepted traditions or norms in our lives might have similarly less obvious, perhaps even commercially driven origins?
Yeah, think about the subtle power of narratives and symbols in shaping our values, our consumer choices. What other seemingly natural aspects of our culture might actually be the result of deliberate campaigns, subtly influencing what we desire and how we act?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Food for thought.